Does anyone else have that one weird friend that keeps telling them to play Super Metroid? Talking about, well, if you enjoy getting your ass handed to you in Dark Souls, then you have to play Metroid. I've done well to pretty much ignore these comments because, let's be real, most SNES games aged about as well as baggy flannel shirts, VHS, R. Kelly, overalls. But okay, I'm willing to admit when I'm wrong because I just played Metroid Dread and damn, I think they may have been onto something. Besides the aforementioned Dark Souls series, I don't have a lot of experience with the Metroidvania genre. I mean, I have played Ori and the Blind Forest, but I couldn't get past that damn owl. I also played Hollow Knight, but I didn't finish that one either. Ooh, but I did love Castlevania, the Netflix series. Okay, so I don't have the best track record with Metroidvanias, but with that being said, damn, Mercury Steam comes out swinging with this one. Now, let me be clear, I'm not suggesting that Ori and Hollow Knight are bad games. I genuinely think they're brilliant. Ori is one of the most beautiful games I've ever seen. Its movement mechanics are stunning, and damn, its opening cinematic, it may have had my eyes a little moist. Hollow Knight, meanwhile, has some of the best level and world design I've ever seen, period, combined with an atmosphere that is just consistently on point. So yeah, I wasn't suggesting they're bad, I just got smooth brain and they kick my ass. I'm also definitely not saying that Metroid Dread is easy. Nah, it was capable of delivering some serious whoop ass, and some of the bosses just made me give up and go to bed sad. But I finished it, so let's talk about it. Metroid Dread is the 5th 2D game in the series and the 8th-ish game overall. The classic 2D formula was originally developed for the Famicom back in 1986 and was dropped for many of the sequels, so Metroid Dread is the true return to 2D form the fans have been waiting for, and after almost 20 years, they finally got it. Amazingly, Dread is still largely the same game as the original, but don't assume that Mercury Steam just slapped some shinier colors and a slightly better resolution on a 35-year-old game, sold it to you at full price and called it a day. No, the formula has been tweaked with every one of Samus's new adventures, and this is no exception. Dread is the same classic Metroid, but with a shiny, pixel-shaded 2021 polish. To understand this tried and true method, you have to appreciate that Metroid, along with Castlevania, essentially created an entire genre, Metroidvania. Metroidvania generally refers to a 2D action platformer with a heavy focus on exploration, all stewed together with a rich upgrade system. But the key to the formula is how this upgrade system feeds back into exploration, allowing you to gradually unlock more and more of the world while simultaneously getting more and more powerful in combat. Metroid Dread is probably the purest form of this genre you're gonna find anywhere, standing as a testament to the longevity of these mechanics. In a world like Metroid Dread or any Metroidvania, you're gonna spend most of your time exploring. Dread is split into 9 different regions, and while you'll be bouncing between them like Samus in a pinball machine, your primary goal always remains the same. Go up, get to your ship, and get out. Establishing this clear, consistent goal always gives you a solid sense of what has to be achieved, providing an excellent overall gameplay thrust, even if your robot buddy Adam isn't feeling especially talkative today. There are a few sections where he'll be pretty clear about where you should be heading, but for the most part, he's happy to sort of just be there. As I mentioned before, the upgrade system and exploration are directly tied to one another. For example, getting the missile launcher will obviously let you rain fire on your enemies, but these same missiles can be used to shoot down obstacles. Every upgrade is like this in some form or another, meaning that for every new ability you get, there's also a door you passed like 20 minutes ago that you can now open. Exploring every nook of each region will unlock shortcuts, teleporters, morphable tunnels, and more, resulting in an old familiar feeling that I'd only ever really felt in the Soulsborne games. You know the feeling I mean. You look around and realize not only are you somewhere safe, but you're somewhere familiar. You breathe a sigh of relief and you pat yourself on the back. In Dread, every time I popped through a teleporter and thought, oh shit, I know where I am, it was that same unmistakable feeling of stepping onto an unknown elevator only to end up in Firelink Shrine. Thankfully, this game has no interest in wasting its players' time. Once you get a new upgrade, the game almost always drops you exactly where you need to be to use it. My favorite example of this is the very first screen in the game. There's a mysterious locked door to the left of the room and you can't open it yet. This door serves as a reminder to the players of what's to come, and of course, once you get your first upgrade, the game drops you back in that same room, letting you finally explore beyond the first mystery the game gave you. It's more things trying to kill you though. As you tend to get further into the game and most of the zones are opened up, things do tend to feel a bit linear. Clearly laid out paths not hurting you from boss to boss and upgrade to upgrade, but this focus on forward momentum feels like a deliberate shift in the flow of the game. And at this point of the game, the change of pace is welcome, keeping the gameplay fresh. In fact, Metroid Dread is consistently good at changing up its flow and pace. Almost as soon as you start feeling that repetition fatigue, the game seems to sense this and generally responds with a curveball straight to your face. The strongest example of this change of pace is Dread's standout feature, the E.M.M.I.S. They're terrifying. You think an aging governor is scary? Nah, the E.M.M.I.S are indestructible, creepily contorting Boston Dynamics escapees, essentially living by a single objective: stab Samus Aran in the face. Each region has an E.M.M.I zone where these murderous Zuckerbots hang out, and you can bet your ass that you'll be face-spiked on sight if they find you. So these zones sort of turn into semi-stealth sections, having you sneaking around, using all your current tools, all while being as quiet as possible. These murder droid nests are often directly on your route from A to B, making them a fairly frequent obstacle. But each zonal E.M.M.I is eventually killable. It just takes some effort. You'll first have to explore the danger zone until you finally uncover a local mini-boss. These mini-bosses are all the same. Some people say they get harder, but Killing these mini-bosses powers your Omega Blaster, and the Omega Blaster is the only thing Samus can use to finally dispatch that local E.M.M.I. And seeing these dudes fall is probably a better stress relief than any of the herbal remedies I picked up in college. Now, I'm not exaggerating when I say that some of these E.M.M.I sections had my heart pounding. My hands were literally shaking while writing parts of this review. The thought out and methodical ways in which you navigate these sections is at a complete contrast to the normal running, gunning, sliding, and ball, making the core gameplay loop feel fresh and inviting when you get to return to it. Now, if you do get caught by a murder droid, it doesn't necessarily mean you're about to see a game over screen. No, these bots generously give you 2 chances to escape. Many of the standard enemies in the game have counterable close-range melee attacks. There's a short wind-up followed by a bright white spark, and if you possess the bare minimum quick-time event skills to hit the Y button at that moment, you counter the enemy and you can insta-kill them. The E.M.M.Is, while having a similar sequence, are a bit different. When they catch you, there are 2 of these melee counter marks, and if you get the timing right, you can stun the bastard and run away. But if all you had to do to counter a murder droid was to keep QuickTime events slapping him like a mosquito, it would probably get a bit stale and a little easy. So to change things up, E.M.M.Is have no wind-up for their counter. The timing window is a fraction of what it normally is, and the best part, the timing is randomized every time. This means you can never get good at countering E.M.M.Is. It's really just down to dumb luck, with the idea being that the QuickTime event should only ever really be used as a last resort. This not only keeps the E.M.M.I engagements exciting right down to the very last second, but when you do counter one, you feel like a badass. One last point of the E.M.M.Is that I want to bring up quick is that they have what is, in my opinion, the best sound design in the game. The ambience of an E.M.M.I zone is enough to put me on edge. I mean, I don't know if these zones make me anxious because of the sound, or if the sound makes me anxious because of the zone. Either way, I think this may be a question for my therapist. The mark of a good game is its ability to intertwine its systems, and in that regard, Metroid Dread is a frustratingly hard game to break down. I mean, I can't talk about the exploration without talking about its upgrade systems. I can't talk about the upgrade systems without talking about the combat, and I certainly can't talk about the combat without talking about the boss fights, and well, at that point, that's pretty much the entire game. Now, you've seen what's been on screen while I've been talking. You're shooting and dodging and jumping and sliding and ball. All the while using the abilities you have at your disposal and generally making a concerted effort not to die. When I first saw this gameplay, I thought, alright, cool, your classic twin-stick shooter, I got this, I know what's up. Yes, but no. As soon as I picked up Metroid Dread, my right analog stick basically started collecting dust, because you use your left thumbstick to move and aim. And at first this is gonna feel pretty weird. But the more accustomed you get to it, and when you inevitably start pulling off more and more impressive shit, you realize that each encounter, be it boss, mini-boss, or trash mob, is designed with this single-stick combat in mind. Now, you can hold the L button to lock yourself in place and aim, but the risk here is that you have to stay rooted in place, so you're constantly balancing your need for mobility with your need for accuracy. Okay, so there are a lot of abilities in Dread, and this inevitably means that there's gonna be some button panic. At a certain point, I was freaking out about how many buttons I had to remember with no on-screen prompts to guide me. I was scared that if one more ability was introduced, my brain would sort of give up and... However, the way they space out when you get your abilities and what abilities you get in which order means that each ability naturally builds off your existing skill set, meaning you're never overwhelmed. I especially like that after a while, your new abilities tend to be substantial upgrades to already existing abilities, rather than something entirely new. So when I got the ice missiles, I was wondering, well, where the fuck are they gonna put the button for it? But no, it's my missile button. They just ice you now. Exploration, bosses, and mini-bosses get progressively harder and harder throughout the game, while your new abilities make trash mobs easier and easier. This gives you a significant sense of power creep while still keeping the game challenging right until its final boss. But going back to old zones with the ability to melt faces, I mean, yeah, it's pretty awesome. So, the game throws upgrades at you in multiple ways, by finding little upgrade orbs, killing the murder droids, and of course dealing out some sweet galactic kick-ass to a boss every hour or two. And while I do really think that the E.M.M.I. zones are great, my favorite part of this game is the boss fights. I'm only going to show you some of the early game bosses because, spoilers, but what I can say is that the bosses do get harder and harder as the game progresses, and some of them are just so cool. My favorite boss in the game is a gentleman whom I have been informed goes by the name of Kraid. I know his name is Kraid because my roommate is a huge Metroid nerd, and when he popped up on screen during their first playthrough, they were like, oh my god, look, it's Kraid! Like I'm supposed to know who the hell this King K. Rool looking dude is. Turns out, this is like the third time Samus has fought him, and while a lot of the mechanics are the same as in the first game, I've never played a Metroid before, so I guess I get to appreciate what 3 iterations of the same boss fight looked like, and damn. The boss design in Metroid Dread is brilliant. The Kraid fight is honestly now one of my favorite boss fights of all time. Each encounter feels like a fast-paced puzzle, asking you to rapidly mentally consider all your tools, desperately trying to figure out what might do the trick. And you're doing all this while trying to avoid being bit-slapped by some tentacles. It's just straight up some of the best boss design I've seen in a very long time. And like, they're fun. No flowery metaphors or shitposts, these boss fights are just really fun. And honestly, the last boss might even be better than Kraid. Like most games, Metroid Dread needs some sort of vehicle to move you from zone to zone, boss to boss, and cutscene to cutscene. This is of course what is commonly referred to in the action-adventure genre as a story. Now, let me be upfront, Dread doesn't have a good story, and from what I can tell, most of the Metroid series doesn't have a good story. But if we're being frank, a game like this doesn't really need a good story. It just needs enough of a narrative thrust to pique your interest about what might be waiting for you in the next zone. And while Metroid does a fine job of this for the most part, there is also physical amnesia. Okay, now I know there had to be some sort of explanation as to why Samus has conveniently forgotten all her abilities from the end of Metroid Fusion, but physical amnesia? The phrase is thrown out so casually and so matter-of-factly that it just smacks of a tired rider hammering some shit out so he could get out the door before 5 PM. I mean, I kept hoping there was some secret real reason that Samus lost her powers, but no. Samus Aran, badass demigod, forgot how to shoot and jump. Fine. Mercury Steam, you can slip a physical amnesia by me just this one time, but at least try next time. Now there is one more part of the story that I would like to touch on, but it's not directed at Mercury Steam or Metroid Dread, it's directed at Kotaku. I would like to draw your attention to this headline. Dear Metroid Dread, Samus doesn't need to be an emotionless robot to be a badass. Motherfucker, did Kotaku just say that Samus needs to smile more? This author writes, I would expect someone in that position to let her guard down a bit, ask a few questions, maybe even crack a smile. But no, Samus Aran is Samus Aran. Cold, emotionless, unfazed. Holy shit, yes, they literally just said Samus Aran should crack a smile. I'm sorry, but did we play the same game? I don't want to give too much away about the scene in question, but Samus displays tons of emotion. Not through her words, but through her animation. The entire game is bursting with incredibly expressive animation. Samus Aran doesn't need to take her helmet off and give you a little wink to be human. Honestly, anyone who thinks Samus is an emotionless robot probably hasn't finished the game or didn't understand it. Doom Guy wishes he was this angry, and yes, angry is an emotion. It's just not one men like seeing on women. Overall, Metroid Dread is a brilliant game, and a brilliant addition to one of the most iconic video game franchises of all time. The game will set you back about $60, which is admittedly a hefty price tag for the 10 hours of gameplay I got out of it. However, when I hit the credits, there were still tons of zones to explore, items to collect, and puzzles to solve, so don't expect to be done with this title after the final boss. Me personally, I'm so glad I finally got around to playing a Metroid game. I just hope I don't have to wait 20 years for the next one. Hey, welcome to the end of the video. Thanks so much for sticking around. I really had a lot of fun making this video. Normally when I'm done making one of these videos, I generally never want to think about that game again, but when I said that Metroid Dread is a really good game, I really mean it, because even after working on this video for a week, I still really want to go back and play that game. So I highly recommend that if you own a Switch, you definitely go and pick up Metroid Dread. It is a seriously fun time, and I know that I'm going to put dozens more hours into it before, I don't know, the next Metroid comes out. I'd like to say a massive thank you to a couple people while I still got you guys here. First of all, a huge shout out to my friend Marc. He helps me with all of these scripts. He helps edit them. He comes up with a lot of the jokes that you guys hear. I really appreciate the work that you do, Marc. Thank you so much. Then to my good friend Jomiro. I'm sure you guys all noticed Brixel has a face now. I absolutely adore the art that I've got, and that is all Jomiro, so thank you so much to him for the absolutely incredible work that he's done. And then lastly, I want to give a super special shout out to my good friend Vermont. It's their birthday today, and I just want to say thank you for all the support that you've given me in the last couple weeks with all of these videos. Thank you for putting up with me day in, day out, talking about this stupid YouTube channel. Thank you so much. I hope you had an incredible day. And once again, thank you to all of you guys watching. I really appreciate everyone who sticks around to the end of these videos and watches. And it's a lot of fun making these, and I can't make them without you guys, so thanks for that. Oh yeah, and one more thing. You know this is all my opinion, right?